My name's Anne-Marie, and I'm from Atom, and I'm going to talk to you about the best way to predict the future is to create it. Quite a bold statement. I work at Atom Bank. I've been there from the inception. We've been around for 9 years, and I joined when it was a bright idea. There wasn't a bank, there wasn't a banking license, and there wasn't a team. There was a very small team. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we've done in terms of building a bank in Durham. There are now 530 of us, why we did it, and what else it can lead to as well when you have a culture of bright ideas or you develop an environment where things like that are possible. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we did that, about leaning into fear as well. There weren't many banks that had been born in the last 100 years, actually, before Atom came along. And I'm also going to talk to you about how important it is to bring people with you, the people who generally have the answers to the questions that you have when you're building an organisation or certainly when you have a bright idea. So who are Atom? Well, we're a bank, we're in your pocket. We are the UK's first app-only bank. There have been many more since us, but we were the first. We help people who want to save. We help people who want to buy a house. Millennials, we will help you if you can find the money. And we help people who want to build their businesses as well. So we have commercial lending. And we set up the bank because we believed that the industry was a little bit broken. Since the banking crash, there were a lot of things that were going on in banking that we didn't necessarily agree with, and we thought customers were getting a pretty hard deal. So we wanted to offer the best customer experience that was possibly out there and be really transparent in what we were doing. And we've been pretty successful so far, actually. Our App Store ratings, which is where you can find us in the App Store, are 5. You can't get a higher rating. And Trustpilot, which is a customer independent feedback portal, whatever it is, we score at 4.8 out of 5. We're one of the highest rated banks. And when I last looked, HSBC was about 1.3, I think. Not that I look all of the time. Lloyd's was 1.2. So we're doing pretty well, and we've been quite successful in that. But when I talk about Atom, this is really who Atom is. This is a group of people that we managed to persuade to come join us and to our big idea. They're the people who've built the app. They're the people who talk to our customers. They're the people who design our products. And importantly, they're the people who are really passionate about changing an industry. They're the people who we persuaded to come with us so you can change the world. And they all sit in an office, or a lot of them sit in an office up there in Durham. And I think this is really important in terms of, you know, kind of bright ideas. How do you achieve them? But I'm going to actually just stop there and talk a little bit about this. Square peg, round hole. Anyone heard that phrase? Put your hand up. Anyone? Yeah, been subject to it? Yeah, I have. I've said it. I've been subject to it. Square peg, round hole. And I think many organisations, certainly that I've been in, they've talked and described people and ideas and things like this. And I've been guilty of it myself. I've worked in people teams and in people roles for years. And I've worked in centres of excellence in organisations. I don't know if many of you have heard of things like that, where it's a team or, experts that sit in teams that know the solutions to the problems in your business. Come to us, we can tell you the answer, we can fix it, we know our business. And guess what? Our bosses know even more than us. They've got more answers than we have. And throughout my career and throughout working at Atom as well, I think that I kind of challenge this a bit. I don't believe anyone in any organisation has all of the answers, even if we think that they do. So I'm going to come back to this, so park that for a moment. So how did we get a bank off the ground? So there hadn't been a bank that had been developed or had launched for over 100 years. Metro Bank was the first retail bank. Any show of hands? No Metro Bank? Yeah? I know it's banking. No, not that many people are into it, are they? Metro Bank was the first one along. It's quite difficult to get a banking license and a banking application through. And it's quite difficult standing up to quite long-standing institutions like some of the big banks that we have and see that have lots of resources, lots of money, And, they don't really have to change much in terms of what they're doing. So if you have a bright idea in this sector, you've kind of got to have a lot of courage to take that forward. You've kind of got to have strong leadership and a big vision and a big mission to persuade people to come with you. You've got to have authenticity as well, yeah? You've got to believe in what you're standing up for. But you also need other people, right? So I started talking about great ideas, big ideas. You need other people to come on your journey with you. And when you've just got an idea of building a bank, that can be quite tricky. So you have to find people and excite them in your vision. You have lots of ideas and lots of questions when you're setting up any kind of organisation, or perhaps with any idea that you have. And you need to find people who are interested in what you're doing, enthused and excited in what you're doing, and willing to give themselves and put themselves forward to help you find the answers to the questions that you have. And we've done that quite well. Like I say, we've built a team that's 530 people. Most of us are in Durham. Some of us are dotted around the country. But every single person has joined our team wanting to make a difference. And the important thing in that is we've invited them into our team with a certain amount of vulnerability. It's not often that you hear in organisations, leaders, in my own experience, stand up and say, I don't know the answer to this. Certainly not chief executives. I'd never come across one in my time, and I might have just been unlucky, right? I'd never come across one in my time at all that had stood at the front of the room in the organisation that they'd built saying, guys, I don't know how to do this. Quite terrifying, actually, when you've left a very stable job to come to this bright idea. And there's a vulnerability in creating the future. You don't know what it is. You don't know the answers, and you need people to come with you. And we've developed a culture at Atom where that's very normal in a sense of nobody knows it all round here. We've invited you into our organisation to help us find the answers to the questions that we have. We want you to ask us more questions. We don't know all the questions either. And actually, there's a bit of fear in doing that as well. Fear in challenging the industry, fear in standing up and saying that and leaning into it to say, we don't know how this is going to work out, but we want you to come on this journey with us, and we believe that we can all do it. So we built the UK's first app-only bank, a pretty incredible feat, and all from Durham. So we're hugely pleased with that, hugely successful. We've created a sustainable business and sustainable jobs for all of those individuals. But it doesn't stop there, because I talked about, well, how do you continue to create bright ideas? How do you continue to innovate and change? We've done one massive thing. We've done lots of other things in between. We're known for being the UK's first app-only bank. And I guess the pandemic was an inflection point for us, in a sense of lots of organisations were thinking, crikey, how is this going to impact us? Are we going to survive it? We want to come through the pandemic a more sustainable, bigger, bolder organisation. We want our people to be happy and well. They're telling us they're not feeling great, and you were probably all feeling very similar to that in your own jobs. It might have been at school or college. And we started to look inside our business as well for more bright ideas. Thinking about our organisation, we wanted it to be more productive, more efficient, and for people to feel healthy and well within that. And we started throwing around some ideas around, well, what might that look like? What might that kind of feel like? We want people to be able to work smarter. We don't want them to have to work harder and longer, as they're telling us, and we want our business to benefit from it. And one of the things which has always interested me has been 4-day week. Great conversations happen in organisations where there's the art of the possible. And conversations were happening around that time around, well, what can we do? What can we do to become more productive and more efficient? How can we build our business to make sure that we're more successful? And 4-day week, the research, if anyone has read or seen anything, there's been lots reported over the years, famous studies in New Zealand, in Iceland, and if they're all to be believed, and the data is to be believed, a 4-day week can actually help your organisation become more productive through being efficient, and actually your people can be healthier and well And guess what? They get more time off. So we thought this is a bright idea that we think we could implement in our organisation. So we started to plan. And when we started to plan and we talked about this as an idea in the business, the question that I got back was, oh, but Anne-Marie, how are you going to plan all of these shift patterns? I'm not a shift pattern resource planner, I'm not at all. And you're going to guess what I say back in terms of, I absolutely do not have the answers to this. You are going to help us make this a success. We think 4-day week could be beneficial for our business and it could be beneficial for you. It might not be the right idea, but let's give it a go. So we set our people away to try and plan and think through, well, how might that work for an organisation like Atom? We have 4.8 score on Trustpilot. That was never going to falter. We didn't want our customer service windows to change because that wouldn't be truly who we were, being there for the people we were servicing. We didn't want our people to feel really, burnt out or, subject to, not great things if they were feeling that they had to work longer and harder. And regulation as well, we're a regulated bank. So our people went away to figure out how we might do this. And there's something in that, in passing that back to the team that you brought on board to say, you tell us how we're going to do this. And that brings me back to organisations in general. And I honestly believe in terms of the organisations that I've worked in and been part of in the past have pertained to kind of know all of the answers. And I think that's a dangerous place to be in organisations. The vulnerability and the fear in leaning into the fact that the people you've invited into your organisation are the people who are going to make it succeed. Really, organisations who are still you might hear the comment of square peg, round hole, maybe they'll not be the organisations that will continue to succeed. Because I believe that everyone's unique and there should be a space in every organisation for every unique individual that comes into your business. Every unique individual that can continue to shape your idea. And that's exactly what we've done at Atom. We had a bright idea in terms of changing the industry, changing the sector, and wanting to provide a better service, to build a brilliant and sustainable, thriving and energetic business, and we've done that in Durham. We knew that we didn't have the answers, and we've leaned into that fear. We've asked people to join us on it, and we've been successful for it. And we've included people, and lots of different kinds of people that will continue to help us on our journey. And I honestly believe that we would never have got a bank off the ground, we would never have become the UK's first app-only bank, and we would never have been the UK's first, largest employer to move to a 4-day week if it wasn't for our people helping us through that. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you for your time. And I'm happy to take any questions. I think Herb's going to ask me a question.
So first of all, thank you. In terms of when you announced the 4-day week, was that announced as a pilot, as an experiment, or was it like this is now happening and you're burning your bridges and there's only one way forward?
It was announced as a pilot, and okay. I think, we're a fully regulated retail bank, and we need to be really careful in terms of some of the things that we are trying, experimenting, implementing. So we set it up as a pilot, but okay. The key within it was talking to our people to say, we think this could work, it might not, and if it doesn't, we'll go back to the drawing board, because we think there is something in finding efficiencies in our business, we think we can become more productive, and we think you can benefit from it. Yeah. If it's not 4-day a week, it will be something else. Okay. So I think having an honesty and a transparency in that, when you hit the road bumps, which you do, in kind of implementing a 4-day a week, that people come with you on that journey.
So, how did you measure, what was your criteria? What were you measuring to say, oh, this is working, let's keep this? And because now it's no longer an experiment, right? It's now policy, and this forever forward, it'll be a 4-day week.
Yeah.
Is that right? So yeah, what
So-
were you guys looking for?
Yeah, so we started it 2 years ago, and we started the pilot for 3 months. I'm ever the optimist. I thought I could gather as much data in 3 months that would need to shift an entire bank to a 4-day week. I extended that because we wanted to kind of collect more data around continue to monitor our customer metrics, our employee metrics, the number of people leaving our organisation, the number of people wanting to join our organisation, the number of people who were going off sick, they weren't feeling great, overtime. And we also looked at productivity measures within departments, and we had over 170 productivity measures that were particular to each function that they could demonstrate throughout the pilot what was getting better, what was staying the same, and what might be getting worse. So we did an analysis of that after 6 months, and all of the metrics trended positively.
Right.
We had time within that 6 months, as I say, to come over any challenges and any of the bumps in the road. And at that point, we took a paper to the executive and the board, and they said, okay, we think you can do it.
Okay.
And to give our people confidence that it was truly the right thing for our business, we decided to change people's working practice and hours without a change in salary permanently. And we did that from January, the beginning of this year.
Okay, so it's now been since the beginning of January. It's no longer an experiment and pilot. It's a reality. It's all that stuff you just mentioned. And do you find that those positive changes have they stayed in place? Have they endured?
Yeah. So our customer figures, our customer metrics have, again, never been higher. They've maintained. The number of people wanting to join our organisation, funnily enough, has increased. When we did talk about 4-day a week initially, the increase in applications to our business was 500% increase in people directly contacting our organisation to work for us.
Wow.
So the number of people leaving our organisation has dropped too. All of the metrics.
Basically everything. That's great. So one of the things I checked those stats you were mentioning about Trustpilot scores and things like that, and in fact you weren't fibbing. You guys are in fact probably, I guess. All pretty generally speaking in that 1 to 2 zone, and you folks are in this. What happened?
I think we can move quickly. We're smaller than them, but I think our focus is different, in my opinion, in that we bring people into our organisation to tell us and help us how to change things.
Okay.
We don't think we know it all. I can't comment because I've never worked in HSBC or Barclays or wherever else, Lloyd's.
Probably should avoid it.
Exactly. I don't think I'll be able to after commenting in the way that I do. But I think it's really about creating the most customer-centric experience, and everything you do is around the customer and doing the right thing for the customer. And I think with some of the bigger and larger banks, perhaps that might not be the case. So we have the ability to do that, and we hand that back to our team and our people to help us do it. Because,
Now, so the other challengers in your category, I guess, at least a couple that I don't know. I'm not an expert in this, but I know at least off the top of my head, at least a couple of them are in London. I would imagine others are probably London-based. Maybe one in like Leeds and places like that, but very few in the equivalent sort of County Durham sort of location. So for you, I mean, obviously you're involved. What have you found to be the advantages and disadvantages of this unusual location?
Yeah, so it does make us unique. I think when we first launched, and we still get the questions now from people in the city in London, like, why would you set up a bank outside of the city? It's crazy. So I think it's giving us a unique element. It has at times kind of, certainly pre-pandemic, persuading people to move to Durham because they don't know how lovely it is until they visit. But I think post-pandemic, the way that working practice in the world has opened up, we have more people working for us around the country than we ever have. So I think it's made us unique. I think it's been a challenge at times, but it absolutely hasn't hampered our success, as I've talked about earlier.
Anne-Marie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great to see you again.
Thank you.
Cheers.